Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the sprint race watch-along. It's just a sprint, isn't it? Not a sprint race, so a sprint watch-along. Hope you're all well this Saturday afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are in the world, and your weekend has got off to a cracking start. Unless you're working, of course, and then, sorry, I used to do weekends. Sucks, doesn't it? But yeah, it happens. Got to pay the bills. Lots to look forward to this afternoon. We are live today for sprint watch-along. Sorry, we're live for the qualifying later today from about 5:30 p.m. Then live again tomorrow, of course, twice for the watch along and the reaction. So lots to get into over the next couple of days. So happy to have you with us. I nearly did the voice CPB, but hello Moto, hello Pascal, hello to Alfie as well, to Hanny and to Kevin too in chat. Good to see you, and I'm sure others will pop along a little bit later when we get a bit close to the start of the race. But we have got a race on a Saturday. It still feels weird after this 2 or 3 years of sprints. It still doesn't feel quite right, but here we are, and we have got a grid. But there are some changes to the grid, so I'll talk you through that just quickly now. So, if you didn't already know, Lando Norris will be on pole for the sprint today, with George Russell joining him on the front row. Oscar Piastri third, with Carlos Sainz in fourth, followed by Charles Leclerc fifth and Max Verstappen in sixth. Lewis Hamilton seventh, with Pierre Gasly in eighth. He's been performing qualifying lately, hasn't he? Quite well. Ninth for Hulkenberg, 10th for Liam Lawson. Fernando Alonso 11th, Alex Albon 12th, 13th for Bottas, 14th for Stroll, 15th for Kevin Magnussen, 16th for Yuki Tsunoda, 17th for Esteban Ocon, 18th for Zhou Guanyu. But Sergio Perez and Franco Colapinto both made setup changes whilst under part firme conditions, and so have to start from the pit lane. So Perez and Colapinto in the pit lane today. Colapinto was 20th. Not really destroyed his weekend, has it? It is only the sprint as well, so probably wasn't going to score from there anyway. And Perez was going to struggle to score from 16th, so I suppose setup changes make sense, but also part firme opens after sprint. So I suppose maybe those two are going to use this as a bit of an extra practice session, if that makes sense. I'll see if I find the document for you, let you know what's been changed. If they actually specify, I don't know. So setup of the suspension has been changed under part firme for Franco Colapinto. And Checo Perez, he's made changes to the setup of the suspension as well under part firme. So they are the two changes that have been made. So maybe a bit of testing for the rest of the weekend there for those guys. But makes sense. If you're going to start way down the grid anyway, you're probably not going to score in the sprint from there. Top 8, of course, scoring the points. So why not take the penalty now, do some practice and see how we go for the rest of the weekend. But yeah, a couple of other things actually have happened today, which have been interesting. To say, I'll say interesting, it might not be interesting to you, we'll find out in a minute, but the good news is Paul Aron has got a seat as reserve at Alpine, so good news for him. That was confirmed earlier today. He's been impressing for the most part in Formula 2 this year. A few sloppy weekends lately, so maybe not impressing a lot of you, I don't know, but he has me. And the other news is, I can't find the article I was looking for, and it's disappeared now and I can't find it. There we go. So the FIA and Formula One drivers had a chat yesterday in one of their meetings, or today. Apparently it was one of the most productive they've ever had, which is fantastic news. And they've been talking about racing guidelines, who can push who out, who can do what, all in response to what happened largely in Austin, but I think that has been happening for a while now. So just trying to tidy all that up. There's no specifics on that just yet, but the Gary Connolly said that the drivers were fantastic with their inputs and very constructive. There was not one negative comment. There was no finger pointing. It was very inspiring to see the world's best drivers communicating clearly and speaking constructively on how we can improve the driving standard guidelines to the benefit of the drivers and to make all of our jobs easier. It goes on to say, this Gary Connolly, that as stewards, we are not here to inflict pain on drivers. We're here to provide a level playing field. It is not us against the drivers, it's the drivers against the drivers, and we're here to make sure everyone gets a fair go. Then goes on to talk about an open door policy if the drivers have any concerns, and then says the driving standard guidelines are a living document, so every year as the F1 stewards we try to meet the drivers, sporting directors and FIA representatives to see if we need to tweak the guidelines to use the experience of the last 12 months and see what improvements can be made to ensure consistency. The goal of the guidelines is consistency. If you've been following this channel for long enough, you know one word we always use about the stewards is consistency. That's all we want. It doesn't matter what the decision is, as long as it's consistently applied, and that's good to hear that is their aim as well. Doesn't always come across that way, of course, but yeah. And George George Russell told media, including PlanetF1.com, it was pretty productive. So, says, I think we all agree the guidelines, they don't need massive changes. I think they just need the odd sentence removed or adjusted. But I think everybody's clear with what happened in Austin, what should have been a penalty, what happened in Mexico was rightly penalised. And generally speaking, over the course of the year, I think decisions have been pretty good. It was just probably Austin that was the outlier. So that's the latest there. We're not going to get back into what happened in Austin because it was God knows how many weeks ago. But it's good that the FIA are looking into how they can be more consistent and that the drivers are being, I guess, productive, rather than pushing back, they're working with them. So, or collaborative, I suppose, is the word I'm looking for. So that's always nice to see. That will help consistency if everyone's kind of on the same page. But I'm very much in the camp, as you'll know, maybe a little bit more old school, I don't know, but just let them get on with it and let them sort it out on track. If the stewards need to step in for crazy driving, dangerous driving, stupid moves, then yeah, absolutely step in and do what you've got to do. But also, I kind of feel like just let them get on with it. But as drivers have said plenty of times, and you will have said in the chat plenty of times, and I've said it, and Jonty and Stuart and everybody that's appeared on this channel, all of these track limit problems disappear if you stick a gravel trap there. End of. We moved away from them for safety, which is understandable, but at the same time, that's then giving us a problem with all these runoff areas and track limits. So the best way to solve it is a gravel trap. And I think they found quite a elegant solution in what they're doing these days with sort of the 2 meter strip of gravel just the other side of the curb, so that drivers can sort of go wide a little bit and push the limits, but they go too far, as we've seen this weekend, you're going to kick up the dust and the gravel. So I think if that's the solution for now, and that's something that can be removed so that the MotoGP concerns or the motorbike concerns aren't there, then that's even better. But some tracks that'll work at, like Austria and here in Qatar, but places like, as we discussed at the time, Austin, it's a bit more difficult given what, the way the track is built and what it's built on, the land it's built on, to dig that up and keep it a watertight track. So it's difficult. It's a difficult one to do for everybody, but it's a good, elegant solution. So as long as we get some consistency, I'm happy. The drivers will be happy. But ultimately, if we can just leave them to it. And that was kind of my view of Austin, to be honest. Just let them get on with it, but apparently not. Annette says, I love the gravel trap. Absolutely. It's the best way, Annette, isn't it? They can't go out there, then they're not going to go out there. It's as simple as that. They're only out there because they can find time and get an advantage, otherwise they wouldn't be. CPB says, I'm so done with Christmas. Mate, we're not ready to set. How can we be done with Christmas? My tree went up earlier in the week. You'll be horrified. It always goes up a month before. I don't know how you're done with Christmas. I love Christmas. Well, apart from the expense, and I have spent a bit more this year because, I can, so eek. I thought he had a controversy regarding 5th place in Vegas. Oh, yeah, sorry. That's a completely different conversation. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Getting involved in your chat there. Oh, CPB works in retail. I feel your pain, CPB. It's working in retail at Christmas. That's when, I know it's not awful, the crazies. It unleashes the crazy in everybody's mind for some reason. And they often, not everybody, but a lot of people treat retail staff like absolute dirt around Christmas. And I've been there, it's awful. And it's very hard not to bite back. And I did bite back, which is, funnily enough, why I don't work in retail anymore. But anyway, hey to Marta, good to see you. Are you driving, Marta? I think you said yesterday in your comment that you'd be driving today. So I'm here to keep you company on your drive. Don't let me distract you. Just randomly go boo halfway through the stream. That's awful. Sorry. I'm in one of those moods today. Lewis says, if they want more consistency, they should try putting the penalties in a random number generator. To be fair, yeah, probably would do better. Herbert is consistently biased against Max, so I guess that's something, says Dell. I don't know if I buy into the Johnny Herbert Max Verstappen thing, but I did, when I was reading it was like, the stewards, we're not stewards against the drivers. I did sort of think there'll be people going, well, apart from Herbert versus Verstappen, obviously. So Victor says, has your opinion on sprint races evolved? That's a good question. We sort of had a short conversation about this yesterday, but not really. My opinion initially was, let's give them a go. I think it would have been better to do it in 2020, but I think the priority for that year was just to get a season in, but I think that would have been the perfect year to try things. So I was all for trying it because it's something that we always talk about, but what I wanted was an F2 style sprint race with, reverse grids, reverse top 10, actually have some really good racing on a Saturday. The original format didn't work for me. They've made improvements. I do like the fact they've sort of structured the weekend now in a way that we get the sprint out of the way and then get into the proper stuff and it all kind of flows a bit better. So they've done well there. But my long-term opinion of sprints has always been, if they keep them, fine. If they get rid of them, also fine. I'm not totally anti-sprint. A lot of people are. A lot of people aren't. People love them. But I don't mind either way. They're not ruining my weekend, and I'm not really gaining much from them in the weekend either. So, yeah, sorry. It's not a great answer. It sounds a bit fence city, but that's not what I mean at all. I'm indifferent to sprints. The only thing I will say that's a good thing is when you've got a weekend of F2, F3, and it's an F1 sprint weekend, that's a lot of racing. So I'm very happy with that, and I do enjoy my racing. So want to get into MotoGP a bit more next year. I've stopped watching it for the last few years. Used to watch it all the time because my dad is into bikes, and we live near Cadwell, which I know is British Superbikes, etc. But still got me into bikes. But I'd like to get back into that next year a bit. So. Not on the channel, don't worry. We won't start talking MotoGP on the channel. That's not that's it. Lee says sprints are good, but only on some tracks. Yeah, they've got rid of Austria next year, haven't they, as a sprint, I believe. I'll just double check that. But I think next year we've lost one of the tracks that it works best at. So 2025 sprint calendar, we've got China, USA, Belgium, USA again, Brazil and Qatar. So we've got Shanghai, Miami, Spa, Austin, Sao Paulo, and obviously, is it Lusail? I say Lusail. So they've taken Austria off and replaced it with, is it Miami, that one, the replacement, I think? Like, why? Austria and Sao Paulo, if we're having sprints, should be the first two on the list because they're shorter tracks, lots of DRS, we get lots of action. They're kind of perfect for it, and I'm just surprised to lose Austria from it. But hey, they want to maximise the money in the US, I suppose, which is fine. That's that's what they want to do. But I feel like it is. Yeah, I might be wrong. Was it Shanghai was a sprint weekend? I can't remember. It might be Shanghai actually that's replaced it, but I'm not. I can't. Somebody will tell me. I'm sure. I can't remember what they were this year. In fact, do you know what? Let's save the argument. Let's save the debate. Let's have a look what they were this year. What did we gain? So it's Spa we've gained, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, it was Spa that's taken Austria's place. I don't know why I had to make that noise, by the way, but it was Spa that's replaced Austria. Sorry, not Miami. But yeah, the sprints were okay at Spa, but I'd rather have kept the Red Bull Ring, to be honest. But there we go. That's just my opinion. So we're about 18 minutes from lights out. Any questions or comments on the news we've had today? I'll just see if I find that thing from Alpine about Paul Aaron and just make sure that I didn't dream it. I'm pretty sure that's happened. I did have a very weird dream last night, so it's absolutely possible that I just dreamt for some reason Paul Aaron was at Alpine, but I'll just double check that for next season. Indeed he is. So he is going to be a reserve driver for 2025. I'm just going to try and find the quotes here. Flavio Ruiz says, we're very pleased to have Paul join Alpine as our 2025 reserve driver. This is a generational shift in Formula One at the moment, as we see with many young drivers coming into the sport and making an impact. We believe Paul is one of the best talents and we look forward to developing him into an F1 driver. And Aaron said, incredibly special to join the team. Clear that this is a great place to be for any young driver. Ask Oscar Piastri. And I'm really pleased that Flavio and Oliver Oakes have given me this opportunity before 2025 and the hard work that will come with being the team's reserve driver. I have a championship to focus on, obviously, in the Formula 2. So there you go. He's impressed me this year, Paul Aaron. I quite liked him anyway, but there's been a few sloppy moments that might have put people off a bit. But yeah, it's good. Yeah, Paul Di Resta, Morris. Paul Di Resta, it's really him, not Paul Aaron. So yeah. I'm anti-sprint, counted towards a championship, says Lewis. If we have to have them, stick the reserve drivers in for a go. Sky were talking actually before I went live about making the sprint a sprint championship, a separate thing. And they worked out that had we had it as a championship this year, Max Verstappen would already have wrapped it up with a race to go. Some things will never change. He does like a sprint, does Max Verstappen. So they were debating that on there, and I think if the points, I don't think we give enough points for the sprint. I kind of think it should be just 10 for the win, down to 10th place for 1 point. because it kind of seems crazy to me in some ways that a driver could finish ninth on a Saturday and get nothing, but then 2 points on a Sunday. I kind of think, let's just have 10 points for first and then 1 point down to 10th place. I don't see why we can't do that. But the idea of a sprint championship, I think, adds a bit more jeopardy to it. I think it'll make it a bit more interesting. It's not got any prestige now, but 50 years time, people will talk about the sprint championship as something that matters. So it's got to everything's got to start somewhere. It'll never be the drivers' championship, of course it won't. But I think putting that in, it's a bit of risk. There's a bit more reward at the end of it. It's something to fight for. It's separate to the main event. The trouble is, then teams are going to start talking about, we want more engine allocation and we want this and we want that, and it might complicate things because they'll say it's separate to the main championship, so we should be getting different this and different that, and it just could cause a lot of complication. There'll be a lot to iron out, but yeah. I get why people don't like them being part of the championship. I did think that I'd be really against a sprint deciding a championship, but it did decide one last year, of course. But I think, as I said at the time, 12 months ago, Max winning that title was a foregone conclusion. So it's not like it was a massive title decider. I mean, imagine right now, Lando Norris and Max Verstappen actually in a title fight, and Max wins today, and that gives him the title, and we lose out on Abu Dhabi, or we lose out on what would have been a great scrap tomorrow. We'd be devastated with that, wouldn't we? So devastated might be pushing it. We'd be gutted. But yeah, no, I'm not too fussed about it when the championship's a foregone conclusion like it was last year. I mean, that was done from Canada, pretty much. Yeah, but I think a sprint championship could be fun. I also think, and I know they want to sell 3 days of tickets, I also kind of think you could just do sprints on a Friday, do practice one, then have maybe not actually, because you have to get 3 sessions in, but I think there could be a way to squeeze them on a Friday if you do practice and qualifying as one thing, but then practice isn't practice anymore, is it? So I don't know, they're fine, but I agree, a sprint championship could be fun, but I don't think we'll see that. But you could do reserve drivers, as Lewis said there. You could do that, a reserve driver championship. Also gets them more track time, given that we're in an era now where there is no testing, really, not compared to what we used to get. Ferrari, for example, having a bad weekend, then going straight into testing for 2 weeks before the next race. Can't do that anymore. So test drivers are they're not really a thing anymore. We call them reserve drivers, don't we now? But yeah, a dedicated sprint driver. Says, is it Amarul? That's a good idea, actually. Or you can have like a race driver and a sprint driver, and you alternate your race drivers or something. But at the same time, the only problem with the sprint championship as well, just to make this point, would we end up in a situation where they then start talking about 10, 15 sprints a year because it matters then? Six just here and there through this, one here and there through the year, 6 in total. That's okay, but would they start looking for half the calendar being sprint championships? And that's the risk, isn't it? I think we will end up with more sprints. I think we'll see probably. I can see us ending up with 8 in a few years' time, and then that'll go to 10, and then they'll probably stop there. But yeah, that's the only thing I would worry about a little bit. I think the sprint should be a separate championship for test and reserve drivers, but it still counts for the constructors, says CPB. Yeah, well, I guess, yeah, it'd be a little bit extra for the teams, wouldn't it? Might make the constructors more interesting for people like Kevin. I'll never let that go, Kevin. You'll forever think that's boring now. If McLaren win the constructors tomorrow, I want no celebrations from you, Kevin. I want you to sulk all afternoon. Just going, oh, boo, boring. Yeah, so it might make it more interesting for Kevin and others as well. We'll see. Master says sprint in Monaco, laughing emoji. Yeah, let's yeah. I'm not sure about a race in Monaco, let alone a sprint. The other thing as well, by the way, I should say, I forgot to mention it yesterday. I meant it was on my list, and I found it afterwards at the bottom. Monza, woohoo, is staying on the calendar until 2031. So it's here to stay, which I think confirms what we already kind of suspected, and that is that Imola will join the likes of Zandvoort and possibly Spa, if the rumours are to be believed, as the European tracks are going to rotate with other tracks over the coming seasons. Something bugs me about F1, and I know people are going to go, no, we don't want any more races, but I kind of feel like we've got the space for one more. Why can't we just go to 25? 25, for some reason in my head, even though it's an odd number, sits quite nicely as a calendar. I hate 24, and I wouldn't want 26 either. It's like, I'd rather have 20 than 21. It's purely, I think it's like an OCD thing. I don't even know, but yeah, 25 for me. Let's get South Africa, Kyle Army, which no confirmation, but given that they're starting to hype that up, and Red Bull have just done a really cool show run there, which was quite a good film to watch, actually, if you haven't seen it. Bit cheesy, but that's Red Bull for you. That was a good little thing. But I think the fact they're there and the tracks, was looking great, and I suspect it won't be long before that's confirmed at some point, possibly next year for 26 or something like that. Perhaps when the calendar comes out, I'd love to see Kyle Army back. It was the first race I ever watched in '92, so it'd be kind of really cool. I know things have changed, but yeah. Dell wants 40 races. You don't have to watch them all. Very good, Dell. How many did NASCAR have over the season? I think somebody a few years ago was saying in chat on one of these streams, was sort of saying, "Oh, we don't want to end up like NASCAR or the Premier League." But I've said before, there's 52 weeks in a year. Let's have Christmas off, and we'll give them a week for testing. So let's have 50 races. Let's do it. Why not? They can rotate crews, rotate drivers. It's all good. It'll not happen. But 25. Rob says, hiya, when does it start? Hi, Rob. We are 10 minutes from lights out. We'll go to the watch on screen in a few minutes. I will count down the lights again like I did last year. I say it every time. I'm not going to do my poor man's Crofty impression, but somehow I still end up doing it. It comes from my days of, again, this is a callback for long-term viewers, Murray Squawker. That's what my parents used to call me, because I used to play the game on PlayStation, and I'd be there and I'd be screaming like Murray Walker as I flew down the outside of somebody and didn't stick them in a wall, or on my N64. I loved my N64. Rob says, just getting into F1. Awesome, Rob. Yes, welcome. It's end of the season, which is a shame. It's been a cracking season, to be fair. I keep saying it. So 2025, we're all bigging up as being the latest 2012. And if you don't know about 2012, I highly recommend over the winter going and watching the what's it called? The F1 review DVD or whatever. You can get it on F1 TV. Watch the 2012 review. It is an unbelievable season. Crazy number of winners it felt like at the time. Great championship finale. Well worth a watch. And 1999, I always say that as well. Check 99 out. It's a good season. Busy Charles says, gaming owns. Michael Andretti and the CEO Greg Maffei at Liberty got into a real fight over the Andretti bid. That's why Greg is out at Liberty and Michael stepped down. That's according to Kevin. Yeah, I think, that's something I was reading earlier in the week, that the two departures are not linked as such, but the falling out was definitely there. The timings were interesting, but Greg Maffei, whatever happened, did a lot of good for F1. Liberty get a lot of criticism. You can't deny they've transformed the sport from a social media point of view and from a viewership point of view. They've done an incredible job, but I think I wouldn't mind knocking some of the gimmicks on the head that we seem to have. Although Vegas last week, I did enjoy the cheese of Martin Brundle getting announced in the same way that Checo Perez was last year. That was quite funny. But I like it. I like you, Annette. Certainly seems coincidental. It does those two departures, doesn't it? What driver do you think will perform well next year, says Rob? Next year, I've got an eye on Oscar Piastri, Aussie P. I would like... I'd like, I said it last week, a sick, twisted part of me would really love a McLaren inter-team fight and Piastri to come out on top, because I think that would be quite fun to watch. Just thinking about the media I'd be reading and things, I think that'd be quite fun. But I think Leclerc's will step it up next year, because he's going to have to. Not that he's stepped down, but you know what I mean. Really going to have to step up with Lewis Hamilton as a teammate. And I think... who was the other one I was thinking of? Somebody else was thinking of. Not Lance Stroll. I think wherever he is, Yuki Tsunoda, I think, will perform next year, because he's going to have to make a decision on his future, isn't he? So, but yes, I'm... Yeah. Kaori says they enhance viewership. That's it. Oh, they've done a bit more than that, to be fair, Kaori. But I take the point. Yeah, they've got a lot of people in watching that weren't before. Drive to Survive. I was in it. I've watched it. I haven't watched the latest series because it's just not really, it's not something that's aimed at me, which is fine, but it brings people in. But hopefully those people will learn about the sport properly. I don't expect people to know everything about Formula One, but let's not get into that. Let's head on to in a second, because first of all, and he's just sat here waffling away. We've got a race to get to, and I've still not even set this up. So let's get the watch on screen ready. We are in Qatar, so we need the sprint race. You guys, again, will want your track maps, so make sure that's on there. That's the best I can do. Obviously, I feel like it goes without saying, I think most people in the world will understand this. I can't show you on-track footage, obviously, so we've got the good stuff from Multiview. If you've not used Multiview for F1, definitely check it out. There might be some stuff on there that might get a bit in depth for some people, but actually there's loads of stuff on there as well that helps you keep up with the racing, and it's not the distractions some things can be when it comes to data, is what I guess what I'm trying to get at here. I'll try and sync this up properly as well today so it all works properly. As much as I like the guy and wish him well, if Red Bull do keep Checo next year, don't dominate, he won't make the halfway points if he repeats his current form, says Fudd. Yeah, I think I'm not sure. The more I think about it, the more I think it'd be crazy to keep him for next season. But I sort of... There's something's... I don't know. Something's bugging me about the Sergio Perez thing that's telling me that he's still going to be here next year. I've got a lot of columns here for the racing, and I'm struggling to fit them all in here, so bear with me a second. I'm going to have to remove some of them. Not necessarily, actually. No, hang on a minute. I've got an idea. I know. Scary thought. Sean had an idea. Let's move that. You can't still do it. I'm just like, let's move that there and that over there. Anyway, let's head on over to the watch on screen. Not awful, not great. Let's just shuffle that in. So I'm not gonna be able to. There's no pit stops anyway, is there? So it doesn't matter about pit stops. There we go. I'll sync it all up. But yes, again, live timing is provided by Multiviewer for F1. Link in the description. Check them out. The stream isn't sponsored, but I am going to give them a shout out because it's very kind of them to let me use these in the streams. They've got great data over there, great stuff. Really helps to enhance the experience, and yeah, it's good for stuff like this. So. There we go. I'm ready for this one. The music has kicked in. So 2 seconds chat while I just readjust things because it all squeaks at the minute. And I mean really squeaks. I could demonstrate that to you if you like. But I won't, because I won't put you through that. It's quite a bit much, yeah. So if I do headbutt the microphone, it's because I got overexcited about the race, so I do apologise. Again, if you're new, I tend to do that. If you are new, by the way, please, segue, if you're new, please do subscribe and join us for join our crazy little community. It would be great to have you on board. Thank you to... Chad and to, is it Merrin, who have subscribed. Thank you very much for joining us here. We are live later today at 5:30 p.m. For the qualifying watch along, which starts at 6. That's GMT, of course. Then live again tomorrow for the race watch along. That's from about 3:30. I'll be live, so 4 o'clock lights out, and then live again with Stuart for the race reaction. Your grid then: Colapinto and Sergio Perez start in the pit lane, as we've already gone over. Zhou Guanyu moves to 18th with Esteban Ocon in 17th place. That's going to be a fun little fight, I'm sure. Yuki Tsunoda, who should be in a Red Bull next year, we'll see, 16th place. Kevin Magnussen in 15th for Haas. We've got Lance Stroll in 14th with Valtteri Bottas just ahead of him in 13th place. Great performance yesterday from Bottas in that Sauber. Alex Albon 12th and Fernando Alonso just missing out on the top 10 in 11th place in the Aston Martin. It is 10th for Liam Lawson, out qualifying his teammate with Nico Hulkenberg once again inside the top 10 in 9th place. Pierre Gasly once again another cracking qualifying session. He's in 8th with Lewis Hamilton in 7th place. Max Verstappen is the leader of the Red Bulls again in 6th with Charles Leclerc in 5th place. Big day for Ferrari, big weekend for Ferrari. Carlos Sainz is 4th with Oscar Piastri in 3rd place. And then your front row is Russell in 2nd and Lando Norris on pole position for McLaren. The Constructors title cannot be decided today. Just checking my maths. No, it can't. But McLaren could take a massive step towards wrapping this up. They must outscore, not Red Bull, Ferrari, by at least 21 points this weekend to wrap it up. There's some debate around that. Like I said yesterday, they need to leave with a 44 points advantage. If it is exactly 44 points, 45 points, if it is exactly 44 points, it won't be decided because of countback, but then there was some debate in the comment section to the preview that actually they could be tied. The situation could be tied on wins, and it could come down to second place finishes. So, in which case McLaren would win. So there is a way that they can win it at 44, but let's aim for a 45 points gap. Lee says, I'm working out. I'll do 1 push up per like. There you go. So get your likes up. Lee's in the gym. We're at 40, so that's already 40 push-ups. So if we 230 here at the moment, that will increase, of course. But let's try and get it to like 200 and really, let's not kill Lee, but let's really put him through his paces. See how he gets on with that one. But the formation lap is about to start. Hey, Kiefer. Hey to Sam. I'm good. Thank you, Sam. How are you? Very much looking forward to the sprint. Very much looking forward to the weekend, spending it with you all. It's been fun so far. So I'm not sure how my voice will be for the reaction. It might be a case of me going, hey guys, Sean here, and then Stuart having to take over, but we'll see how we go. It could be good fun. Only the 2 streams next weekend, which will be weird. Freeze says, dang it, I can only like once. That's Freeze making 100 different burner accounts now, just to drop likes to put Lee through his paces. Hi, M. Harati, how are you doing? Hope all is good. Yeah, we just Lee's going to post a picture at some point on socials, and he's going to be just absolutely enormous by the end of the weekend. Anyway, yes, 8 points for the win, 7 points for second place, and 6 points for third, and then that's all the way down to 8th place again. I kind of wish we were just going down to 10th. It'd be nice to give, you know, your Liam Lawsons and co some points. I'm just going to have to reach over there just once. You can't see. Well, reach over where? I'm pointing. You can't see. As I touched on yesterday, you may see some stuff next year, because I think these sorts of streams would be pretty good with face cam, but I'm not going to do it now. So, let's see how we go. Oh, deep breath. We're just coming around now to the final corner. Norris will start to back everybody up. Everybody, I believe, starting on mediums. The timing hasn't updated yet, so hopefully that will do. But I think most will be mediums today. I don't see the risk of the hards. The softs aren't going to hang on either, so there's absolutely pointless. So we'll see. No pit stops, of course, unless there's damage, and even then I think that driver's probably going to retire if they end up with damage, so likely not really any pit stops today. Certainly not scheduled is I guess the point I'm making. GP there on the pit wall. Hope you can't, Crofty just doing his usual speech here around your usual stuff, and your Sky Glass and your Sky Go and your ride on board and blah 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 blah. Looks like everyone's on mediums. Again, the timing hasn't updated yet, but I'm just watching as they come around that final corner. I'd be surprised if we see anything but mediums there. The hard tyre is going to be really important for tomorrow. The soft ready for qualifying. I don't see it being any use. Right then. They're lining up on the go. Just taking a moment to get ready. I need to do... what promo should I do? RC. Promos can we do? Buy Oscar Piastri's Singapore helmet for me. There you go. That's a promo. I'd be up for that one. Here we go then. It's a different promo, I know. Here we go. Lining up on the grid. Who have we got? So Joe's just coming into position now. I'll count the lights down as I did last week. We'll see the green flag at the back, which means the race has started, according to Crofty on Friday. That's the official point. So here we go. 1 light, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And we go for the sprint in Qatar. Norris gets away well. George Russell kind of matching him there, but he's going to tuck him behind him and just ahead of Oscar Piastri, who's having a look down the outside. That's going to be a big ask around there. He might try it, but no, there's a Ferrari having a look at the inside of Piastri as well. I love the outside of that first corner. Piastri sticking it out around the outside as well and tucks up into the inside of turn 2. That's a cracking move and a great start from Piastri. Gets a bit twitchy on the exit of that corner there. Lewis Hamilton is ahead of one of the Ferraris. Got somebody off in the background, I believe. Maybe not. Just a bit of dust kicking up. Colapinto and Perez have been released, but George Russell has lost second place to Piastri, and that's a Ferrari. Piastri wide on the gravel again. I mentioned that earlier. He was doing that earlier in the weekend. Just about surviving that. Somebody else off one of the RBs as well, which I believe could be Liam Lawson. He's down 6 places off the start. Russell challenging Piastri. through these first few corners, but Piastri has jumped into second place. Sainz is fourth with Hamilton fifth and Leclerc sixth. So Hamilton has gained a place, or 2 places actually, from seventh on the grid. Hulkenberg up to seventh as well. Verstappen down to ninth. So he's had a shocking start there. Has Max Verstappen. We'll double check that one on the replays a little bit later. As too busy watching the very, very front of the grid. But cracking start for Lando Norris. 1.2 clear of Piastri, who's 7/10 clear of Russell. Sainz in fourth, Hamilton fifth, Leclerc sixth, Hulkenberg seventh, Gasly eighth, ninth for Verstappen, 10th for Alonso, and then it's a Magnussen, Bottas, Stroll, Ocon, Albon, Lawson, Zhou, Tsunoda, Colapinto, and Perez, who's already fallen behind Colapinto, unless Colapinto was ahead in the pit lane, which he may well have been. There you go. Oh, that was a good... That move from Piastri was cracking. He kind of had a look at the outside of turn one, and I thought, you're not going to pull that off. Hung it out around the outside, then tucked in nicely into two to take the position off Russell. Then had a couple of scruffy corners with a run into the little gravel runoff, and also a bit of a twitch through one of the corners as well. So it's a bit of a shaky but exciting and productive first lap there for Oscar Piastri. But McLaren are 1 and 2, so phase 1 of what they need to do this weekend to wrap up this Constructors title as it stands is on. However, George Russell is closing in on Oscar Piastri. He's still within DRS, which of course is activated at the end of this lap. Or it is activated this lap, so on lap 2, so it is activated. So DRS for Russell will be a thing for sure. Norris, though, looking comfortable at the front at the moment. 1.1 clear, 1.2 now, but that could come down. But that's the excitement really for the sprint done, I would imagine. I'm joking. It looks like Russell's pretty racy today, so he's going to want to have a go at Piastri, I'm sure, on the one DRS straight. There's only one DRS zone this weekend. That is down the start finish straight. I think I read on the Alpine thing it was 100 meters shorter this year as well. So hopefully we'll get drivers alongside each other but not complete the moves. But Verstappen, I want to see a replay of his start. He is down to 9th. And tucked up behind Gasly at the moment. They have got DRS. George Russell on Oscar Piastri is closing in. He might have a look. It's sort of half a look, but you're not going to get through there. Quite a late move to try and get through. Maybe just trying to scare him off the road a little bit. Not going to work with Oscar Piastri. That's usually the moment he ends up in the wall. But Piastri is also closing in on Norris a little bit here. So Norris has done the fastest lap on a 25.961. Only a few hundredths slower is Piastri, but over the lap did close in by a couple of tenths somehow. So hopefully Piastri could take the fight. He'll have a nice little fight at the front between the two McLarens with George Russell involved as well. Ferrari need to start making some moves though. Only a 19-lap race, so this will be over pretty blooming quickly, as they tend to be the sprints. But Ferrari needs to start making some moves, because McLaren 1-2. It's not going to wrap up the Constructors, but it's going to be even tougher tomorrow for Ferrari. Verstappen twitchy there on the picture. But yes, the battles at the moment, really, we're watching Piastri versus Russell. Sainz has got Hamilton all over the back of him. Purple first sector for Hamilton actually as well. So there is race pace in the Mercedes. The other battles, Gasly and Verstappen. Gasly's not far from Hulkenberg either. Magnussen and Bottas and Stroll and Ocon and Albon and Co are all together in a bit of a train. In fact, Alonso, dare I say, cork in the bottle there, possibly, of that train there. And Perez and Colapinto cut a little bit adrift at the moment, but hopefully they'll come back as the race goes on. So Russell closing in now with DRS, and he's surely close enough to have a little look now. George Russell does have a look into turn one on Oscar Piastri, who tries to hang it out around the outside and does. That was close, but Oscar Piastri does keep the position. Good defensive driving there from Aussie P, and George Russell can't get it done. He had a go at the inside. Piastri had the high line, I guess, around the outside and made it stick to hold the position. But good battling there between these two. That's given a little bit of breathing space to Norris by a couple of tenths, but Russell actually did the fastest lap there on a 25.8. Russell said he just starring turned into me. Sure. We'll have a look. We'll have a look at the replay. I'm sure we'll get one, but RC's like, shut up, Russell. Hang on, let's have a look at the start actually first, then we'll read your comments. So it was a pretty, not even. Norris a slightly better start of the two at the front, and then Piastri kind of was alongside Russell to the outside, and then he was actually behind through turn one, then just floored it on the exit. Really nice grip on the outside there to tuck into turn two and take second place, which has set up this great battle. What happened to Max Verstappen? It was a kick up of gravel there. That may well have been him. And then Lewis Hamilton and the Ferraris having a little bit of a squabble there. Watching from onboard Carlos Sainz, see what happened to Max Verstappen. So Verstappen immediately behind Hamilton, who puts a little bit of a squeeze on the straight and takes the position. Trying to keep an eye on Max. I'm sure getting on board. A little twitch there from Carlos, another twitch from Carlos as he hangs on in there. Yeah, it looked like there might be some contact there, actually, but I might be wrong. Verstappen, he's twitchy. Oh, he's all over the place. And then a little kick up of dirt on the exit there to lose out to the Haas. That was a really sloppy start for Verstappen there. Car didn't look great at all. He said on the radio, understeer is an understatement. Oversteer is an understatement, sorry. So he's oversteering all over the place. That car looks horrific on board. So that's going to be big setup changes for qualifying in the race, surely. And this was Russell here having a go at the inside of... I tell you. What's the contact? It looked like the... Maybe not, but no, he did come across on him, to be fair to George. There wasn't a lot of space there, but... They're both okay. I think, look, if it wasn't contact, it was flipping close to it, that's for sure. But yeah, Max got caught behind Carlos twitching, says Kevin. Yeah, we were just watching that. That was an interesting moment. That car looks awful on board on that first lap. So that's something they might need to look at. But Piastri now within DRS of his teammates and Russell within DRS of Norris. This race ain't over. Norris was looking a little bit comfortable at 1.2 seconds, if he could ever be comfortable at 1.2 seconds in F1. But yeah, that was an interesting moment. Let's see if Russell gets another game. Obviously now Piastri will have the DRS as the picture freezes for some reason. So there we go. So that's going to help. Piastri's looking racy today, so's Russell. So this could be a lot of fun. Imagine, I don't want to do this, but imagine these two McLarens collide. Could you imagine? I'm not saying they will. They're both good at racing. I'm sure they'll race each other fairly, leave enough space and all that. But Piastri here is rapid at the moment, closing on his teammate. Although lap times aren't too dissimilar. Magnussen has had a lap time deleted for track limits at turn 7 on lap 5. But yes, we have a battle at the front. We have a battle at the front, but we also... Alonso's lost out to Magnussen, and Magnussen's got past Alonso for P10. He now needs to chase after Verstappen. Perez is still behind Colapinto and last. I don't know if... Are they treating this as a bit of a test session? They must be. 26.7, so he's 6/10 slower than the leader. And he's had some clear air as well as Perez. So I'll say clear air, following Colapinto a bit. We're watching Magnussen start in the picture-in-picture. He had a cracking start, actually, initially, and then squeezes between a Sauber and a Williams, and then his challenge... Oh, a real squeeze there with Alonso, and I think, is that Zhou or Bottas on the outside? Real squeeze there for Magnussen, but he has now got past Fernando Alonso with a move around the outside of turn 1. Probably my favourite overtake spot in Qatar. Piastri is really challenging Norris here. I don't know if McLaren are playing a bit of a game here and just giving him the DRS and allowing him to get close, because he didn't really dive there, but he's not going to dive bomb his teammate, is he, and take the risk. But this is a battle at the moment between definitely 3 drivers, and Sainz isn't that. In fact, you know what? I think we've got a battle with 5 for the win here. Half a second between Norris and Piastri, 6/10 between Piastri and Russell, 6/10 between Russell and Sainz, and then 7/10 between Sainz and Hamilton before we get to... in fact, actually, Norris just said I'm trying to give Piastri DRS every lap, so maybe they are playing a little bit here, but yeah, Leclerc is really the next gap, 1.8 seconds back from Hamilton, so there's 5 cars in this. I'd be surprised if Hamilton wins, but or Sainz, but you never know. A little bit wide there for Piastri on the curb, but yeah, Norris giving him DRS, but that certainly left him vulnerable there. So that might be why Piastri didn't just send it into turn 1. Again, no teammate. He's not going to have a go like that, is he, into turn 1. Not worth the risk with the constructors on the line. I know the drivers may not care about the constructors as much as they do the drivers' championship. But, bonuses, things like that might apply. I don't know. Leclerc has the fastest lap at the minute, 1:25.522, as we're watching Liam Lawson on a replay picture-in-picture, making a move on a Sauber. Which will be Zhou Guanyu. He's still ahead of Tsunoda as Lawson, which is interesting. This is close. So here's Verstappen now. Surely going to have a go at Pierre Gasly into turn 1. He does indeed, but can Gasly hang out around the outside? No, he doesn't. Verstappen moves through into 8th place. The Red Bull finding some speed now. Hopefully solve those moments earlier on in the race. That was a horrible on board if you haven't seen it, watching that one. But yeah, we've got a fight here for the win on lap 8 of 19. Still a good way to go in this one yet, and a lot of pressure to soak up. Zhou has dropped to 20th. Has he just slowly losing pace? He got a problem? Has he made a mistake? He's falling back from Perez quite rapidly. So, he's on a soft tyre, is Zhou. Well, that answers that then, doesn't it? I said about the softs. I've just noticed he's on the soft tyre, is Zhou Guanyu, so that'll be why he's probably falling away now. Those tyres are not going to go very far. If he gets those to the end without a pit stop, I will be very surprised. So don't be totally shocked to see Zhou in the pits, unless he's thinking of testing them for tomorrow. See how the softs go for the race, but I don't see that as a race tyre. Maybe 2 or 3 laps from the end to go for a fastest lap for someone like a Russell or a Leclerc or a Verstappen, for example. But I can't see that being a genuine race tyre, or a preferable race tyre. So here we go then. DRS for Piastri on Norris, DRS for Russell on Piastri. Russell is closing, but that DRS for Piastri, when he's going to have a look, is Russell into turn 1, and Piastri just comes across and says, no mate, yeah, you're not coming through here. Not happening. But this is all allowing Sainz and Hamilton to keep up, but Russell is really having to go at Piastri. Piastri isn't having to go at his teammate, but his teammate is apparently helping to get a bit of DRS there for Pierre. It's working. It's just about keeping Russell at arm's length. But Russell gets a good exit from that final corner, and he'll soon be through. Verstappen, we're watching in picture for some reason, coming through turn 6 at the moment, behind Nico Hulkenberg. Curious are probably testing the softs. I can't think of, unless they were thinking maybe put the softs on, engage some positions and hope for a safety car. But even with a safety car that early in the race, you're just going to drop to the back, aren't you? So I can't see any reason, unless they really thought they were going to hang on, or they're testing them. Like you say, that's all I could think. So good point on Russell there. Lewis says Russell's going to destroy his tyres. Something to keep an eye on. Hamilton, by the way, is in a Ferrari sandwich. And not really making any gains on site. It's 1.1 seconds behind him. Leclerc is now closing, interesting enough now. So this is on. Kevin says Checo needs to pit. I'm guessing you want to finish 20th today. Why not? Yeah, Zhou's just dropping like a stone in terms of lap time here. 29.9 versus Perez on a 26.6. So 4.3 seconds behind Perez already. And it was only a couple of laps ago it was overtaken. So he's just absolutely falling apart here, Zhou. Those tyres will be dreadful. But maybe run them, see how far they'll go before things go wrong. We're watching at the start here, Sergio Perez in the pit lane. The light goes green, and Perez waits, and then... Why? So Perez was waiting while the light was green, and then Colapinto shot past him. So I don't know what... That was strange. Sorry, I paused it. I was trying to work that out. Sergio Perez was sat at the end of the pit lane at the start for his pit lane start. Green light came on, and he just sat there. And so Colapinto went, cheers, mate, and went round past him. And then Checo was sort of creeping away. But that was strange. Any ideas? Chat, let me know. I'm not quite sure. We are, let's say we're at the halfway point. Please do drop a like on the stream. 600 of you here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Great to have you along for the ride. Please do drop a like on the stream. 65 likes. Let's get that well over 100. That'd be fantastic. And please do subscribe if you are new as well. And I'll do some shout outs a little bit later in the race. Lots to come this weekend. Live again for qualifying this afternoon. Live for the race tomorrow. And of course, live with the race reaction shortly after with Stuart as well. So please do drop a like and subscribe. Greatly appreciated. Lots to come, like I say, and enjoying spending the weekend with you all. And of course, like I said yesterday, we're going to be reviewing content over the winter, so we want to know what stuff you want to stay. So if you're wanting these to stick around, then watch-alongs and race reactions and previews, then make sure you're dropping lots of likes and interactions and views and all of that over the next couple of weeks, so we can judge that properly. There you go. Checo was having a Kit Kat break. There you go. Good point, Del. Yeah, it could be that one. Bottas schooling some kids on a Sauber before he goes. Says Etta or Etta. You know who you are. We're watching a replay now. Fernando Alonso. who's he following at the moment? Following Kevin Magnussen wide, very wide actually, Fernando Alonso there. So all good though. He's rejoined, no problems there. Lap time will be deleted, of course. They'll tell us in a minute where that is. But Fernando's racing hard in 11th place, 1.1 off 10th. It's not a point, of course. Points down to 8th place, where Verstappen is at the moment. Norris over Team Radio says Oscar almost has DRS to Russell. So if you could do maybe a 10th quicker, that would help. So they're trying to break that gap to Russell now. As someone was saying earlier, actually, that could have cooked Russell's tyres. All that excitement and drama there. So let's hope he can keep himself in the fight here. But Sainz is closing as well. He's only 7.5, 8 tenths and sets the fastest lap of the race on a 1:24.904. So Sainz is in this fight as well. Leclerc is now catching Hamilton, only 3-4 tenths behind, and has got DRS, of course, now. So Hamilton falling away from Sainz. Have the Mercedes overdone it on their tyres early doors, perhaps? Temperature out there, by the way, 21 degrees air temperature, that's C, of course, and 25.2 track temperature. So 53% humidity. It was 80% last year, wasn't it? That's the difference a year makes, just moving this later into the year. So the concerns over the driver's well-being that we had last year and some of the difficulties they suffered, and by difficulties I mean passing out and vomiting in the car. I mean, that's quite a serious difficulty to have. We shouldn't see that this weekend unless they all get really racy and cause chaos. Might as well retire, Joe, says Leon. Yeah, I was just thinking that, but I think if he's put the mediums on, so he has pitted. But I mean, maybe they're just thinking, treat this as a practice session. Obviously, only one practice session across a race weekend, so get the laps in on the soft, then pit, put the mediums on, see what they can do immediately in terms of warm up and things like that. Maybe it'll be good data to have, but it's a little bit embarrassing for him. Bless him, just trundling around out there. Might end up getting lapped at this rate, although not quite enough laps, I don't think. But I think we're about to see Leclerc have a go at Hamilton into turn 1 here. Just coming through 16 now, has got DRS. Hamilton doesn't have DRS. He is close as well, Leclerc, less than half a second. So I think we're about to see a move for what will be P5. Pretty quick in a straight line, that Mercedes looks to be, though. Is he going to have a go? Leclerc does have a go down the inside of his teammate. A little bit of banging of wheels there. There is a tiny bit of contact. Hamilton's going to try and hang on to keep the position. Leclerc around the outside of 2. That's ballsy, and hangs on and takes the position. That was a great fight. Can we have more of that next year, please, lads? That was good stuff. Hamilton's going to have a look back, though, at the inside of 4 and 5, but Leclerc hangs on for 5th place in the Ferrari and now can get on after his teammate. But that was a good fight. There looked to be a little bit of contact into turn 1 there. Yeah, no. Frustrating there. I'm sure for Lewis Hamilton to see his teammate for next year flying past, but I'm just wondering if the Mercedes have cooked their tyres a bit. Although saying that, Russell's pace is good. He's just set the fastest lap of the race because I said that, you see. But there goes Leclerc. So he goes down the inside. Hamilton kind of turns in, as you'd expect, to take the line. There's definitely, if there wasn't contact, it's as close as you can get without it. That really was close not quite, I don't think. That is really good racing between the two of them. That's great stuff. Just leaving enough room and no more. That's racing for you. That's what we want to see. Russell is back on the back now of Piastri, maybe charging his batteries a little bit, perhaps going on there. We'll see. I'm just going to watch Russell have a go at Piastri. I think it's turn 1. He's getting closer and closer and closer. Oh, Piastri quite late to defend. Russell does come across, take the inside, but I think that was quite a... I think he might be okay there, Piastri, but it did feel quite late on board to come across and defend. But he's got a right to defend, just not too late, obviously, and stays ahead of Russell. I imagine any minute now we're going to get a team radio from Russell going, blimey, or something like that. Not very happy about that move, I'm sure. But what do we think, chat? I think I want to see... I'll see another angle of that and we'll wait and see what happens. But it looks a little bit late on board, but it might not have been that late if you look at it from an off-board position. But I'm sure Russell's going to complain anyway. That's put Sainz on his rear wing as well. Manu says, my stream has no commentary sound for some reason. I'm running this as a substitute. Thank you very much, Manu. Good to have you along. Russell said... beep me, that was late, so he's not happy with that. But yeah, thank you for popping on, Manu. Sorry that your stream's causing you some issues, but hopefully that'll be sorted for you tomorrow. But good to have you here. Feel free to pop back anytime, as I say to everybody. It did look late, didn't it? It does off board as well. Looks way too late, really. They might give him a warning for that one. Not sure about moving under braking. That's a bit of dust kicked up from somebody there, but they've kept going. Also... no way Bortoleto could be worse than Joe or Sauber can be any worse. A good move for the kid. No expectations for him, says Etta. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing Bortoleto at the team next year, what he can do alongside massive experience of Nico Hulkenberg as well. So we've got 5 laps to go. And Piastri has closed in on, but again, I don't know if Piastri's closing on Norris because they're going to try and give him DRS, or if he's just absolutely going for it. Norris says, "I'm starting to struggle with the front, so do I save him or question mark?" Yes, please help Oscar is what the team has said. So there we go. Juan says, hello F1 Word, first time here watching from Puerto Rico. We don't have F1 tracks here. I hope you can help with that. Thank you very much, Juan. Thank you for popping along, and you're more than welcome, and please do subscribe if you're new as well. Oh, you said you're new, so there we go. It will be good to have you along for the rest of this season and for next season as well, and we'll see if we can push for a track in Puerto Rico. That'd be amazing. The more tracks the better. Perez is pitted, by the way, for a new front wing, so he's 11.1 now for his stop, and he's going to be second to last. In fact, I think he's going to be okay, is he? Is Zhou going to get him? This is the fight now that we all wanted to see today. Sergio Perez versus Zhou Guanyu into turn 1, and Zhou Guanyu is ahead of Sergio Perez. Woohoo! P19. Anyway, the C Gaming says, why is Verstappen in 8th? Just 1 second, just see this down the straight with these 4. See if anybody makes a move. I think everyone's just a bit too far back, so we're okay. Just a really horrible start. Lots of oversteer. Car was all over the place. Got caught up behind Sainz, who was having his own issues as well. Very twitchy. So, yeah, just a bad start for Verstappen, but no mechanical issues. He'll get a point. That's something, but yeah. Kevin says that we play for decades from now. Yeah, epic move from Zhou just to pass him on pit exit. Almost as good as Colapinto's move earlier. I shouldn't poke fun, but I'm going to because, you know, yeah, I don't know why he's got a new front wing. If anybody knows why, that would be fantastic. To let me know why Perez had to pit. Obviously, I've got commentary on, but I can't really hear it. I can't have it too loud because I've got a very sensitive microphone, so that'll pick up the earphones, and then I might risk, as stupid as it sounds, a copyright strike because that sounds like I'm broadcasting audio. So bots and all that, you know what they're like. They'll find you. They'll find you. I'm not. I'm not going to read that, but it's a cracking comment. But you've mentioned Malaysia, so obligatory. We need Sepang back. Definitely. Right then, so Piastri has fallen back now with just 3 laps to go, a second behind his teammate. Has still got DRS though, so just about hanging on in that zone there, so that's keeping Russell behind. But I think Russell is going to be quite a frustrated driver come the end of this race. A couple of moves he's not been happy with from Piastri, and we'll see whether or not, whether or not he's going to have a dive bomb before the end of this race. Thank you to James Gaming for becoming a member. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate the support. We'll be having a look at memberships next year and seeing if we can add a few perks to that rather than just the icon and all of that business. So we'll have a look at that over the winter. That is on our very long list of things to do ready for 25. So yes, thank you for joining the channel. Saukis, is it Saukis says testing a new wing, could be testing a new front wing. Yeah, good point. Again, like we said about Zhou and the tyres, it is pretty much a practice session, and actually Perez has fallen quite away from Zhou, so I wonder if they are just get him in some clear air and let him test the wing. So that's a good point. Alex Albon watching a replay now, and he's going to go a little bit wide and just kick up some gravel, I'd imagine. A lot of drivers doing that this weekend, testing the limits, so expecting to see quite a lot of that in the race and in qualifying later this afternoon, which is going to be great stuff. Love me some qualifying. It's good stuff. Always love it. George Russell then is very-ish close to the back of Piastri, who doesn't have DRS, so whatever McLaren were trying to do, it hasn't worked this lap, as it's the fastest lap for Charles Leclerc, who is on the move, and Russell having a little bit of a look. I nearly went full Crofty then on the move, but it wasn't quite a move. I don't like those sort of half moves, because as Martin Brundle would say, it's just costing you time, so yeah. Stick it out, George. See if you can do it. But there are only 7 tenths between them. This is still, I wouldn't go as far as say a four-way fight for the win, but I think Sainz is close enough that if something happens, he can nick in and take some extra positions here. What happened to Perez early in the sprint? So that was starting on the pit lane. And then for some reason, when the green light came on, he just sat there more or less and sort of crept forward, and Colapinto passed him on pit exit. So it was a pit lane start, which is why he's down there. But they've also changed his front wing. We suspect possibly testing a front wing. We're not 100% sure. I'm sure Red Bull will say afterwards, so I'll let you know in the next stream later this afternoon. But that's why Perez is where he is. But yeah, pretty miserable weekend so far for Checo. Hopefully things can improve for him. Good point there on the graphic. Sorry, 2 more points for Haas today. That does extend their lead over Alpine in the battle for 6th in the Constructors, which I know Kevin's really excited about, and a lot of you will be. But there's a lot of money at stake there for Haas and Alpine and RB. So it's a big fight, which I'm hoping goes down to the wire. We are on the final lap of the race then. George Russell is he going to be close enough to have a go? George Russell, Piastri's got track limits warning. Russell does have a go into turn 1, but he's not going to get through there. Quite a late move again, but that could be his last opportunity. Only the one DRS zone, of course, across this track. So Russell is very close to the back of Piastri, but it looks as though we are going to be Norris, Piastri, Russell, Sainz, Leclerc and Hamilton as your top 6. Hulkenberg not really under threat from Verstappen not under threat from Gasly. Magnussen not far off Pierre, actually, to be fair, 9/10 of a second, but really the battles are Russell and Sainz versus Piastri. Magnussen might get a go at Gasly, but unlikely now with no DRS. It's a tricky track to pass on anyway, and Colapinto is 3/10 behind Tsunoda, so not a lot going on, but then that's pretty much pretty much how it works, isn't it, the sprints? Yeah, good point, actually, the C Gaming. You mean a pretty miserable weekend for Checo, season for Checo. It's not been great, has it? Thank you, by the way. We'll do this super quickly. Thank you to, is it Muji, to James, and to Yezarik for subscribing. Of course, James, for becoming a member. Thank you so much. Appreciate your support. Please do drop a like as well. 12 away from 100. We can do that before the checker flag, surely. 12 more likes, and that'd be fantastic. Max complaining his back is broken after carrying Red Bull Racing in 2024. Yes, yeah, very much. But Lando Norris is slowing and lets Oscar Piastri through. What happened there? Oh, of course, he gave up the win in Brazil, didn't he? Yes, there we go. So the thank you to C Gaming for subscribing as well, and for being in chat. Good to have you there. But they swapped positions on the line. Shades of Hakkinen Coulthard in Australia in '98 and Schumacher and Barrichello at Austria, but not really with any proper meaning. But Oscar Piastri wins the sprint in Qatar with Lando Norris, who led from start to finish, almost finish, letting him go on the line. So repaying him for letting him through in Brazil, which I've got to say, there'll be a lot of people that get mad at that. I wouldn't go as far as classy, but I think that's a good thing for Norris to do, given that Piastri gave up the win in the sprint in Brazil for him, and he's repaid that. But that's also very risky, because if that goes wrong and Russell sneaks through, you look like a bunch of idiots. But yeah, so just to confirm, I was getting ready to wrap up and not cheer, but call Lando Norris across the line. He slowed down. I'm sure we'll get a replay. And Oscar Piastri slipped through. That means the top 3, come the end of the race, was separated by just shy of 3/10 of a second. So there we go. Yeah, Indy 2002 as well, Max. Was it 2001? I can't think what... Yeah, I know which one you mean. The one where they tried to be equal across the line, it went wrong. Yes. But yeah, there you go. Oscar Piastri is your sprint winner somehow, from Lando Norris in second and George Russell in third. I'm laughing, but I'm deep down inside absolutely furious with that, because I'll tell you why. I put Lando Norris down for sprint win and sprint pole, and that would have been 2 points in my predictions. Git is all I'm going to say on that. I'm not serious. I don't care about my predictions, but yeah, I've got Piastri for pole and the win tomorrow. A pole this afternoon and the win tomorrow. So that's just ruined my predictions. So there you go. And just I came so close to scoring some points. Thanks, Lando. But yeah, so Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, and George Russell are your top 3 in the sprint. Carlos Sainz 4th with Charles Leclerc 5th, Hamilton 6th, Hulkenberg 7th, Verstappen 8th, Gasly 9th, and Magnussen 10th. I'll go through the order properly in a minute. But Alonso was 11th with Bottas, Stroll, Ocon, Albon, Lawson 16th, Tsunoda 17th, Colapinto, Joe, and Perez was plumb last. Yeah, I'll do a pause in a minute, and we'll do a countdown and all of a run through the order and all of that. There will be some who disappear now. If you are about to disappear, please do drop a like before you go. We've just hit 100, so thank you so much to everyone who's done that. Please do drop a like and subscribe as well if you're new. Just like the C Gaming. Spore Server, Raska Trip, Ron Damon, and Mar Jack have done. Thank you so much for subscribing, guys. Appreciate the support. I'll always do shout outs when I can in these watch-alongs for subs, so make sure you subscribe. I will be back. We're going to do a little bit more in a minute. I'll have a chat shortly, but we will be back with the next stream. That's at 5:30 p.m. GMT with qualifying starting at 6. And then, of course, we will be live tomorrow as well with the race watch along and the race reaction with Stuart joining me for that one as well, so please do drop a like and subscribe before you go. But for those who are staying, let me know your thoughts on the race. I've just seen someone say the most boring race of the year. D says the most boring race of the year. Shadik says bit of a snooze fest. It all got excited, didn't it, at the end, really. Russell had a couple of goes, but I'd imagine there'll be a chat between him and Russell later. Clancy says double stream, woohoo. Yeah, well, 5 streams this weekend, mate. We've got 3 to go after this one, so we'll see how we go on Sunday. That might just be Stuart streaming with me in the background going for the evening, but we'll see how we go. Thanks, F1 Word. Your commentary has been entertaining. Enjoy it. Stay blessed, says Leong. Thank you so much for coming along. Good to see you. Hope to see you a little bit later as well. Max says, I mean, it was quite boring. Yeah. See you later, James. Hope to see you later this afternoon. George having a chat with himself. Did George have a chat with George? I mean, he maybe have a chat with himself. I meant Oscar Piastri. Yeah, George having a chat with Oscar Piastri. So, Swappy on the line. Piastri's laughing. Zach Brown's there, who, just to point out and remind you, is the CEO of McLaren, is not the team principal. That is, of course, Andrea Stella. But Zach Brown seems to be very much the front and centre of everything, doesn't he? So there we go. So here we go then. Here's the replay that I wanted to see. So Norris comes through the final corner. I'm getting ready to call him over the line, and then he just sort of slows right down. It's a very simple swap. When does he start to slow? At the safety car line, at the pit entry. Then Piastri just swoops through, takes the win with Norris second, and George Russell third, and Zach Brown chuckling on the pit wall. So that's something that was clearly decided certainly this morning, but I'd imagine we heard some team radio as well. But again, I didn't get the commentary. I might have the team radio transcripts open for the race tomorrow, just to see if we can get any bit more info that we're not getting on these. But yes, both drivers look unhappy, says Lewis. I've yet, to be honest, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, I've yet to see anybody really, aside from Oscar Piastri getting his first ever any kind of Formula One win, really celebrate a sprint victory. If you know what I mean. Like, they're happy they've won, and they'll fist pump and celebrate with the team, but not like when winning a Grand Prix, which would be a surprise, given that doesn't really matter, does it? In the grand scheme of things, it's the proper racing that matters. But George Russell there in his white Mercedes overalls is what I'm going to go for. Uniforms, there you go. They look great this weekend, by the way. This was great, so it looks great. I like that, so we'll have those for next year, please. If this was a 90 seconds, I'd call that 90 seconds. I'd call that swap something. I can't say now. Fair enough, says Kevin. Sainz actually a really talented driver. Charles Leclerc getting a run for his money. Williams going to be suffering for him though. Looking forward to that. Thank God it's only a sprint. Would have fallen asleep if it was an entire race of a DRS train. I tell you what, actually, I was thinking watching that race. I don't want to be negative during a race because you never know what's going to happen right around the corner. Something could absolutely kick off out of nowhere. But I was thinking that it doesn't bode well for tomorrow. That you can overtake, but if you've got a car in front like we had today, Norris giving Piastri the DRS, it's going to cause problems. We're just going to get DRS trains all day tomorrow. We had that Alonso, Bottas, Stroll, Ocon. They were all pretty close to each other for much of the race, weren't they? And then it all kind of spread out late on. But yeah, that does concern me for tomorrow. Yeah, I suppose it depends on qualifying, Clanton. That's a good point. If we get a mixed up grid, it might make it more interesting. But yeah, look, sprints are never going to be as good as a Grand Prix. Not just in terms of prestige, but there's no strategy either. So somebody can't try something different. Zhou starting on the softs today, maybe to test them. Fair enough, but in a Grand Prix, if you get an early safety car and then you can pit and get one of your stops out the way and put the hards on, and you've gained some positions, that's an inspired choice. So, yeah, it just doesn't really work for the sprint for me. So, how long was the race in the end? We get an hour, so 35 minutes. There's 25 minutes left on the clock, so that's 35 minutes. So about half an hour for the race, yeah. Which wasn't. It's not much, is it? But yeah. Yeah, Victor says race will be the same. Snooze fest. Well, maybe Victor. Again, like Clarence said, it depends on qualified. If we get, let's say Norris has a shocker and qualifies 17th, we've got a fast car out of position, so that might spice the race up a bit, or Piastri or whoever's back there. So it's all down to that. But it doesn't bode well if we do get a normal grid. So. Alice is frustrated there, saying, is this what Zach Brown is going for? Effing with the drivers' heads. What were they trying to prove? I don't know, Alice, if there's any team radio I've missed, but was this something that was decided over the radio, or did Norris just do it, or was he told to do it? Because I couldn't quite catch that. Because like I said, I can't have the audio on because the stream will pick it up, and then I'll get told off by the YouTube overlords. FOM, they'll come and get me, and they scare me. It was a long race, but they never are. But it's not a short track. I keep saying it's a short track. It's not really. It just looks a short track. I don't know. We'll see tomorrow. It could be absolutely brilliant, but great scrap. I mean, the best part was the great scrap between Norris and Russell, of course. A couple of moments there. But really, I think the bit I got most excited about was Zhou passing Perez on pit exit after Perez had come to get a new front wing. So there you go. This kind of says it all, doesn't it, really? Team orders after Brazil swap, says Clansom. I didn't watch it, says Sim. How did Perez become last? So Perez started in the pit lane. Then the green light came on after the start for him to go, but he sort of dawdled a bit, and that allowed Colapinto to sneak through, and then Perez a little bit later on put a new front wing on. We don't know whether they're testing something or there's some damage, so that's why Perez is where he is. So a frustrating day for Checo, frustrating day as well for Zhou. Titanium says, how did Oscar win? I'll tell you what, actually, it's quite funny if you went away to get a cup of tea because Norris has started the last lap and it's comfortable, and then you come back and it's like, how the hell is Piastri there? They swap positions basically on the line as repayment for Brazil, which again I think it's a nice touch. I don't see it happening tomorrow for anybody swapping positions like that. But in a sprint, it kind of shows it's not got the value of other things, has it? But anyway, quick pause while I just have a quick drink. Then I'll do the run through the order for those who are just tuning in for the results. I need a 2 seconds chat thing, don't I? A Crofty thing. I might have to find that photo of Crofty and Brundle that says 2 seconds Ted and just put 2 seconds chat for when I'm drinking. Oscar Piastri has somehow won the 2024 Qatar Grand Prix Sprint race. He was second place for much of the race with Lando Norris leading. Then Norris slowed down the line to let him through to repay him for giving up the win in Brazil. So Norris was P2 with George Russell in P3. Very much story of the day was DRS trainers we've talked about in chat, but actually Russell and Piastri was quite a fun little squabble when it was happening. Russell not happy with some of the moves there, but he is third. Carlos Sainz fourth for Ferrari with Charles Leclerc fifth. Constructors title not decided, but I think that's going to go to McLaren now. I think we kind of knew that coming into the weekend. Ferrari needed a bit of not a miracle, but they needed a big result today and a big result tomorrow. We'll see what happens in qualifying later in the weekend, but fourth and fifth today with the McLarens 1 and 2 is not ideal. Sixth place for Hamilton and seventh for Nico Hulkenberg. Some big points there, 2 points in the battle with Alpine and RB for sixth in the Constructors. Max Verstappen, really bad start. He is down in eighth place, or finished down in eighth place, losing a couple of the positions. Oversteer all over the place. Car looks awful on board. Definitely go check that out later if you can. Pierre Gasly in ninth with Kevin Magnussen in 10th. No points for those, of course, because it's a sprint. Fernando Alonso had a bit of a DRS train for much of that race behind him, but built a bit of a gap to those behind in the end. He was 11th with Valtteri Bottas 12th. Potentially bodes well for Sauber tomorrow. Lance Stroll 13th and Esteban Ocon in 14th with 15th for Alex Albon. Liam Lawson dropped down to 16th place. I missed why, so if anybody knows, please do pop it in chat and I'll come back to that in a second, but he did lose 6th place off the start. 17th for Yuki Tsunoda and 18th for Franco Colapinto, who started in the pit lane, but actually 2 places better off, of course, than where he qualified, which was 20th. So still a win for Colapinto on that front. 19th for Zhou Guan Yu. He pitted, having started on the softs, pitted to put some mediums on. sort of speculated in chat that maybe they were just testing the tyres for the rest of the weekend because he was well down the order anyway, but I'm sure they'll let us know. And Sergio Perez, he was 20th, started in the pit lane, didn't get going at the green light. That allowed Colapinto to sneak through. He drove around at the back really for much of the race, or towards the back, and then pitted for a new front wing, which was 11.1 second stop. Again, we think was possibly testing, maybe damage, not 100% sure, and he ended up finishing 20th place, 2.9 seconds behind Zhou Guanyu, who passed him on pit exit, I guess, as the Red Bull was leaving the pit. So there we go. Not sure what happened to Lawson. If anyone knows, do let me know. We'll just do a few more minutes and then we'll wrap it up because we are live again. We'll go to 3 o'clock, 15 minutes. And then I'm live again at 5:30 p.m. GMT for the qualifying watch-along, which starts at 6. And then, of course, live tomorrow for the race watch-along at 3:30 p.m. And that starts at 4. And then live again with the race reaction on Sunday with Stuart. And then I'm going to have 2 days off. And they'll be my last 2 days off before I go on holiday on the 16th, because I've got a lot to do for the winter and for the rest of this season. So, yes, I'm going to be farming simulatoring my head off. Hey, Stefan, good to see you, mate. How you doing? Says... don't think it was testing, it's just a skill issue. Fair enough. Which one? Pick one. I don't mind which one it is, but yeah. Guess 5 says because they swapped in Brazil. Yep, absolutely. Max wants to play marbles. Not today or at any point, anytime soon, mate. I'll have to check with the bosses, but I might set up a little Twitch channel again just for us to play games. Not we can talk F1 more over there and other topics, but I think you've probably all realised I quite like being live because I just quite like talking. Because again, you might notice I can talk. Oh man, can I talk about anything, any topic? I'll give it a go. So maybe we'll start up a Twitch channel for the winter and just hang out over there and play some marbles and some other stuff. I'm sure there are other games as well, but that's a conversation for another day. You see the same with football. Once champion mostly loses games, says Harlema. I don't know if that's a different conversation, perhaps. Stefan says shame Lawson dropped at the start. Feel like Perez is on the way out, but Lawson needs to deliver to give them a reason. Kevin says, okay Sean, talk about cheese. Really? If you set me off on cheese, we will be here all afternoon. I could. That's one of the topics I can cover quite happily. Stefan said, I'd love to see some City Skylines 2 live. Planet Coaster as well. Planet Coaster 2, Stefan. That's good fun. A bit buggy, but then what isn't these days when it launches? Yes, the Red Bull car is now a 6. Fair enough. Yeah, new Wallace and Gromit film at Christmas, isn't there, as well? So that's there you go. See, we get there with cheese one way or another. Ferrari pace not as bad as expected. Might still be in the hunt if damage limitation tomorrow, says Max. Have I got? Hang on a minute. Let me see if I can find it without interrupting everything. Possibly not. No, I can't because it's going to mess up the screen. But I'm just wondering if there might be. That's 8 and 7. So for McLaren, that's 15 points. Ferrari. I mean, it's not over, is it? It's not over. But given that I thought McLaren were favourites comfortably coming into this weekend, not just to win, but also to wrap up the title, and that they have pretty much got it done, and that Ferrari needed not a miracle, but for things to really swing. That 1-2 for McLaren and then 4th and 5th for Ferrari, it's not really got me too excited for Ferrari getting their first title since 2008, their first Constructors title. Of course, McLaren haven't won the Constructors since 98, 26 years. And do you know the most sickening thing about that? I remember 1998 like it was yesterday, vividly, and it was 26 years ago. Raikkonen needs to come back. What's he doing now, says Kevin. I don't know. Boing at everybody, I think. But that would be good. Checo's got to go now. Come on, Red Bull fan here, says Oliver R. Yeah. I guess the only counterpoint to that is, who's it going to be? It's Lawson looks like the favourite. Some of you said Bottas yesterday will be a good option if they need somebody with some experience, but Lawson seems to be the favourite with Colapinto and Tsunoda, or Tsunoda and Hadjar at RB. But I'm not going to say it again. You know what I think. So yeah. I don't know. What else can I say? Well, we've said it all. Absolutely. So I just don't think. I think you throw Lawson in, you risk burning through another junior. I think he needs a year or two. I need a couple of years at RB. And by a couple of years, I mean actually in the seat and not in and out of it, like he has been for the last couple of years, substitute for Daniel Ricciardo and then getting dropped and then coming back to take Ricciardo's place. So, yeah. Black Rider says, I'm missing what they see in Lawson. So, Lawson is rapid. He's got speed. A bit like Yuki, actually. But my concern with Lawson, and I think they quite like his attitude and his temperament for the most part. I tell you what he is. He's very Red Bull, is Liam Lawson, and I think that helps as well. The problem is, and this is someone who backs Liam Lawson quite a lot and defends him quite a lot. I'm not going to say the R word. I did that with Stoffel Van Dorn. He's not the polished article yet at all. He's a long way off that, and I think you throw him in there, you're just risking a Gasly Albon situation where you've moved somebody in too quickly. They then end up in a position where they're not up to speed quickly enough. That then gets a team on their back and everybody on their back. Then they're doing a mid-season driver swap. That puts them on the back foot. We end up with, is Lawson going to go to an Alpine, for example, like Gasly eventually did, and back. It just doesn't. I just think put Lawson in the RB next year alongside Hadjar, or if they want to bring in Colapinto, do that as well. Put Tsunoda in the main team. You're going to get some answers there. Lawson's a good driver, but he's not there yet. And I think putting him against Max Verstappen, you're going to destroy him, aren't you? Surely. I mean, look, he might get in that car and deliver, but I'll go back to what we said on Sunday. In my opinion, Stuart agrees. A lot of you agreed last week as well. Red Bull have got absolutely nothing to lose. So whoever they put in there, if they're worse than Perez, whether it's 20th or 16th, they're still not scoring points, are they? So I think if you take that risk and it fails, then you've not really lost anything. And if it pays off, then you've gained massively. So I guess that's the definition there of nothing to lose, Sean. Well done. That was a long-winded way of saying it, but that's my view. But obviously people have different views on that, and that's absolutely fine. That's the world we live in. So just third and fourth in the Constructors this year. Give Mercedes and Red Bull a better chance going to 26. Could be something to look forward to, says Oliver R. I think so. I said it yesterday, actually. Red Bull would want to win the Constructors, but if they can't win it, I think they'd rather be third than second, because it means that they are going to have more, like you say, wind tunnel testing time and things, and they're building the car next year for 26. So I actually think that's going to give them a bit of an advantage. And I was discussing this with Stuart the other day in sort of on WhatsApp, and we were sort of saying that we think that I don't know about the cost cap, but certainly the scaled wind tunnel testing time, all that stuff, that seems to have sort of, it seems to be working, but I don't know if that's because we're just converging ahead of a new rules change, and this is just what naturally happens in Formula One, or whether it is to do that. So I'm interested to see if, 2026, what happens, and whether or not that does keep the field close, or whether we do still have this massive spread and we have one team dominating for a while, then everything closes up again. It's going to be really interesting. So, I agree, Oliver. Definitely something to watch for next season, so could be good. We'll do a few more minutes. Why not? And then we'll finish at 3. That's a nice round 3 p.m. finish. And then don't forget the Formula 2, by the way, at 4, I think, GMT. That starts today. Their sprint race. So definitely one to watch. Ralf Schumacher in the background there for Sky Germany, I'm assuming. I don't like to assume, but you would assume. Give Gasly the second Red Bull seat. He smashed Perez today in a far worse car. Oh, wait. I mean, look, yeah. I've said it a million times. I think they were a bit rash with Gasly. I think they could have given him the rest of the season. They weren't in the title hunt. I don't think, had they stuck with Gasly, they'd be in any worse a position now that they're in than they're in now. Start that again. I don't think they'd be in any worse a position now than they are had they just stuck with Gasly. But that's ifs, buts, and all that business. So, but I mean, look, Gasly has had a cracking couple of 3 weekends, really, hasn't he? Qualifying really well. Big points, of course, for that podium in Brazil. Yes, helped by the weather, but still fantastic drive. Great qualifying. He qualified well yesterday for today. Hopefully he qualifies well this afternoon for tomorrow. He seems to have hit some form. I know the Alpine might be a better car now, but he seems to have hit some form just at the right time as well with this fight with Haas for the Constructors in P6. So, I'd like to see Albon back in that that Red Bull, not Albon. Well, Albon, yeah, but Gasly. But yeah, I just don't want Lawson to go the same way as those, or Hadjar as well. So let's go back to giving RB the juniors Toro Rosso as they used to be, and then get them ready over 3 seasons, and then chuck them in the Red Bull. There you go. KM says Ferrari have their guy in Leclerc. Dude has a talent. Is just all about putting it all together. Hopefully going at it with Lewis next year is vindicating for him, like it was for George. Good comment there from KM. Look, I think that's the battle most of us looking forward to, isn't it, next season in terms of inter-team battles, teammate rivals. But yeah, no, Leclerc. Martin Brundle said something last week. I think that he thinks Leclerc is, in terms of raw speed, the fastest driver on the grid. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. When he said it last week, I kind of did a double take. I was like, really? But that's the thing with Leclerc. He's always been rapid, but he makes mistakes, and that's been his big, I am stupid and all of that business. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but Martin Brundle's entitled to his opinion. But he has a good idea. He's been around a while. He's seen some drivers. He'll know what he's looking at. But Leclerc is rapid. But yeah. He has too many instances, Stefan. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And that's the key. Guest 5 says over 1 lap. Yeah, maybe he is. Yeah. Yeah, DRS is getting banned soon, if memory serves, says Platilobium. Yeah, so we've got, they're replacing it with the move Bolero, aren't they, next year? I think the front wing is going to move at certain points. And I'll find the rules out at some point. We'll probably over the winter we'll talk about it properly. But yeah, they're getting rid of DRS as we know it now. But they're replacing it with something else. So interesting times ahead. I'd say it again, it's sort of a shame. I'm looking forward to 26 regulations, but also the field's converged really nicely. We've got this great fight this season, which didn't turn into a title fight really, but it very nearly became a title fight. And it could be epic next year, and then we're changing the rules, and one team might turn up and dominate, and so it's a shame really, but that's the way F1 goes in cycles. So yeah, just a reminder, if you are just popping in to check the results, Piastri won after Lando Norris essentially stopped on the finish line to let him go through to repay for Brazil. Russell was third, with Norris of course is second, therefore. Sainz fourth, Leclerc fifth, Hamilton sixth, Hulkenberg in seventh place. Verstappen, bad start, ended up down behind Gasly I think at one point, and then got through to take 8th place in the final point. Gasly 9th, Magnussen 10th, Alonso 11th, Bottas 12th, Stroll 13th, Ocon 14th, Albon 15th, Lawson 16th, 17th for Tsunoda, 18th Colapinto, 19th Zhou, and Sergio Perez 20th. Zhou Guan Yu started on the softs, didn't work at all, then had to pit for the mediums, and Sergio Perez changed his front wing late on for either damage or for a test, or as somebody said earlier, skill issue, I don't know, but 20th place in the end for Sergio Perez. Hopefully for his sake it's a better afternoon for him than it was yesterday and today, so there we go. Do you really think that the 26 cars will be able to overtake to the same degree as the current cars without DRS? That's not a quick answer, I'm afraid. I don't know. I honestly don't know, Oliver. I'm not sure about the regulations, but I'll go into them as I always do with an open mind. We'll see. I'll have a think, but I can't. That's not something I can answer quickly because I've not really got everything in front of me I need to have a look at. But skeptical. There you go, Oliver. I was skeptical about it, but we'll see. I know they weren't keen in the simulator, were they? So there we go. Apparently, Annette says on the McLaren app they put Lando P1 and Piastri P2, but they've now fixed it. There you go. Yes, even they weren't sure what was going on there, were they? And actually, Dell just says to Oliver, they have X and Z modes or Z modes, which is something similar, so it's going to be different. But yeah, it might be quite similar. Yeah, I like overtaking without DRS, but they're going to replace it with something, aren't they? Definitely. So, yes. What we're thinking for quali later then? We'll do so. We'll talk about quali later, obviously, because we've got a little while yet, and we'll have half an hour to have a chat about it later. See you later, Kevin. Hope the daughter enjoys the piano lessons and it all goes well. Hopefully see you later, mate. Appreciate it as always. Hope everything's not too boring for you. I'd never let that go. You've had it now. But yeah, what we think of qualifying later? We're thinking McLaren again. the ones to beat, or do we think Russell might sneak in, as Oliver's just said there? Russell Pole calling it now. He surprised yesterday, didn't he, with his few hundredths off the fastest time, so maybe he can be in the mix. That'd be exciting. So I predicted on Thursday Piastri to get pole and to win the proper race on Sunday, so I'd like to see that. But yeah, so they're just talking about DRS now on Sky, actually. And they're talking about how Antonio's saying that the DRS there is just getting you into play this weekend. But, you know, the trouble is when you've got one of them, it's, next week in Abu Dhabi, it's two of the best DRS zones of the year. You've got the long straight, and then straight after that, you've got another detection and then another zone. So the driver that's just been overtaken can immediately fight back. You know that's how I like. If we've got to have DRS, that's how I like it. Give somebody the chance to pass, but if they get past, it gives the driver behind the immediate opportunity to fight back. I love that. So, yeah, one DRS zone, maybe should be a bit longer here, but also I don't want cars cruising past in a straight line. So there you go. Kevin's gone. Annette has gone with Piastri for pole. Stefan said the same as well. But yeah, I think Russell could be in the mix. Ferrari's pace intrigues me because they looked really, really quick up to yesterday, and then all of a sudden McLaren just kind of rocked up and comfortably, solidly beat them, and Ferrari were well down the order, so that they could really do with obvious statement alerts. They could really do with a 1-2 this afternoon, and then hopefully turn that into 1-2 for the race tomorrow. So, but we'll talk more about qualifying a little bit later. We'll leave it there for now. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. Just a reminder, before you go, please do drop a like and subscribe as well if you're new. Just like Allah has, and I think Mar Jack I mentioned earlier as well. Thank you so much for subscribing, guys. I appreciate you joining me along for this journey and with this crazy community. So I will be back on... Thanks, Oliver. You're welcome. More than welcome, Oliver. My best Will Buxton impression. Why not? I will be back in, 2.5 hours, 5:30 p.m. GMT for the qualifying Watchalong, live again tomorrow for the race for Watchalong from 3:30 p.m. And of course, the race reaction will follow about an hour and a half, 2 hours after the race is finished. We'll have Stuart there for we're going to waffle for the weekend. So good stuff. Please do drop a like I say, and subscribe as well. Follow me on socials at F1 Word, the F1 Word as you need to, and of course to catch up on the latest Formula One news and reaction, head on over to planetf1.com. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.